So here we are again, back by unpopular and unashamedly self indulgent demand. As I mentioned previously on the channel, I've been writing for the last 2 months an awful lot. And I've always felt that writing was 90% hard work and practice, and maybe, if you're lucky, 10% talent. I certainly have a very, very small portion of talent, but I have a lot of muscle memory, a lot of bulk from many, many reps in the gymnasium of my mind, if you like. I'm not even particularly good at the language of the gym, as you can probably tell. I've been writing a lot, so find myself writing possibly as well as I've ever written. Certainly, the projects that I'm working on are allowing that. The German project has been a project that I've been able to take very strong, firm ownership over. The new 13-part series is one where the producers have entrusted me with the job and allowed me to apply my particular taste to it. All of which results in me really feeling like I'm owning the process. And weirdly, as a result, the more I write, the more I feel capable of writing. Back in the early days, back during my first sort of forays into dramatic writing, I would write for 2 days and then take 1 day off to sort of renew my batteries. Now, 6 days of solid writing is pretty much a standard, and I don't feel worse for the wear. I'm match fit, if you like. And weirdly, as much as I've been protesting the lack of time and the impending doom of deadlines, I also found myself writing a couple of little bits just really for me, a kind of writing I've never done before, short stories. The first of which that sort of started the ball rolling started with those dreaded words, I had a dream the other night. Now, usually when someone says, I had this amazing dream the other night, the next thing that happens is they tell you something that is of no interest to you or anybody else except them. The specificity and the minutiae of dreams, given that dreams are our internal filing systems, are entirely boring to the rest of us. No matter how compelling we think our dreams are, they're not. However, this was not a dream. This short story that I wrote was not the dream. What happened in the dream, as often happens, when I was 18 years old, I did some work in a shop, and after one particularly long weekend of stock taking, I dreamt about counting socks. So it should probably not be a huge surprise that after a particularly intensive period of working in the writing room or with writers or with story, I often dream about writing, the writing room, and story. I often find myself having dreams wherein part of that dream, part of my mind, is trying to work out how to solve the story problems with the dream, how to tell the story of the dream better. It is the nature of my filing system, buzzing and whirring as it tries to make sense of, I guess, in the same way that the NSA tries to make sense of my Google search history, which on any given week can contain some very dark and strange things. But I often dream about the process of telling story, and in this particular dream, the contents of which I don't remember, I needed to come up with a clever story. And the short story that I went on to write was the story that in my dream I came up with. And then I woke up, and in waking, thought to myself, that's a pretty good idea. So I kept myself awake, and I processed it a little bit more. I came up with a title. I came up with a few little mechanics. I spent long enough awake at like 5:30 in the morning to remember the idea so that I could tell it upon waking, so that it wasn't lost along with the night's filing. And I went and I wrote that short story down. And then, having enjoyed that process, my boy and I were out walking the other night, and after a little comic riff about what we might want to do to people who don't indicate in traffic, I wrote another short story down. And after watching Charlize Theron's magnificent Old Guard on Netflix, I came up with another short story that, in the fullness of time, hopefully I'm also going to write down. And maybe, just maybe, I've got the start of a little anthology of short stories that I might publish in some shape or form. Not because I want the money, but because I'm intrigued in this new avenue of writing for the sake of writing. In most of my life, I'm not a slut. I don't give it away. I'm very much a whore. I sell what I do. I do it for profit and to pay the bills. The fact that I enjoy it is a bonus. The fact that I'm possibly good at it is an advantage, but it is very much a professional thing that I do. This channel is not for anything other than me. It's not for money. This writing turns out kind of the same, but I do feel the urge to share it. On Isabaya, my big show in South Africa, the one that I was writing back into 2020, we had a writer by the name of James Wiley, a very, very fine former actor, former stage director, and novelist, has written a couple of very powerful Cormac McCarthy-inspired novels in South Africa, The Book of War and The Diggers, I think, are the two that are two titles I can remember. And James, having the skills he has, occasionally sits down and reads some of his words in his incredible sort of Shakespearean voice, and it's magnificent. I've never done this. This is the first time ever that I find myself reading out loud my words. But given that I have this little piece of self-indulgence and the hope that maybe 4 of you, you know who you are, I probably know who you are too, have stuck around to listen, I thought that what I might do right now is read not all of this short story, but just give you a taste of it and see what you think. See if it interests you. See if you like what you hear. See if you'd like to hear more. So, here it is. This is Lovers on a Train, a short story by Paul S. Ralston, second draft, 25th of the 1st, 2022. To the casual observer, it seems quite obvious what we're looking at. Silver fox with striking smile and casual laugh. Baby doll, her perfect oval face framed by ink black hair, hanging on his every word, laughing at every cue. They're not loud. They don't deliberately draw undue attention, but as the impeccably appointed first-class carriage races into the stormy north, their untold story mesmerizes. Even if he could be a young father to this childlike woman, as long as we assume she got the lion's share of her striking looks from her mother, from the way Baby Doll looks at him, the way she touches his arm, his hand, his face, it's clear she's no daughter. Not that he isn't also handsome with that indefinable ease and healthy glow of comfortable wealth, private health care, expensive exercise, and organic food. But Silver Fox has no ring on his finger, nor the telltale pale indentation where one might recently have been removed. And while he's less demonstrative and more restrained, his is also not a father's touch, nor a husband. There's a hesitancy when he touches the almost doll-like woman, a caution, the newness that comes from unfamiliar controls and uncertain handling. But whatever this is, it fizzes and pops with static energy and potential. So, a sugar daddy and his side action, perhaps, or an as yet untamed man-child still clinging to his own fading youth by clutching at a series of interchangeable young lovers. Who knows? From the way they sit, stretching over the separating table on this fast-moving public train, their physicality still reeks of intimacy, expectation, and soon-to-be-delivered promise. One thing is quite certain. Everyone who sees them looks again. Young men mutter darkly at the unfairness of it all, with such a perfect angel so obviously enthralled to grey sideburns and a thick wallet. Old men grumble miserably about how they might also touch the firmness of youth if they were not so loyal or logical or limited in opportunity. And the young women? They glance at him and admit to the possibility, even while condemning her with casual, not entirely honest assumptions of motive and methods. In that, they share much with the older women, who, even in resentment, might stipulate they were never quite as perfect and would happily exchange places if he were to so much as curl one of those thick, tanned, well groomed fingers. Thus, in quiet mutual adoration, mostly oblivious and almost always smiling and laughing, Silver Fox and Baby Doll manage to command the attention of everyone while not seeming to have eyes for anything except each other. Stranger sits at the bar at the southern end of the northbound carriage. He'll be last to reach that distant terminus, but his elevated position provides a perfect place from which to look into the future he's gliding towards on magnetic wheels. On the flat panel behind him, the news drones on about yet another tech company issuing yet another urgent recall for yet another faulty product sold as grade A but issued in beta. But Stranger is more interested in his fellow travelers. He imagines their lives, he extrapolates their stories, filling in the blanks with from the limited cues of unheard conversation and casual observation. And Stranger's eyes also keep turning and returning to the middle of the carriage, to the man with the perfectly photogenic silvering hair and the mesmerizing woman across from him. To the stranger, she has the kind of magnetism that knows no firm definition and has no common denominators, other than the fact hers suggests an attraction for every possible personal taste and limitless sexuality. While he's sure Silver Fox is surely too old to share the interest, Stranger has spent a lifetime consuming anime and manga, and it's as if this woman child stepped directly off the page, out of the screen, and into his eye line. Her compelling incandescence speaks to him of love, longing, and lust. Like everyone else in the carriage, Stranger struggles to look away, and when he does, his betraying eyes drift quickly back. If Baby Doll were to look around, become aware of these involuntary stares, the long-distance lust might be a problem. Happily, whatever physical perfection she might possess, whatever bright, burning internal force makes her flesh glow that way, she seems to entirely lack that primal instinct, the sixth sense that allows prey to feel the eyes of the predator and take flight. Maybe her radar is overwhelmed because there's never a time when she's not the object of every eye. Or maybe she doesn't have that prey instinct because she's the predator, with nothing to fear from the physical imperfection of the lesser eyes that surround her. Stranger forces himself to turn away once again, seeking liquid distraction. He taps on the glowing menu beneath the clear glass surface of the bar. Double distraction with ice. As the servitor spins and whirs to smoothly provide, Stranger tries to once again focus on the distracting news report. But droning proclamations of dangerously faulty AI seem to come every other day now, and the more the news feeds make every story urgent and breaking, the more they'll become no more than background static. Rain streaks along hardened glass, races down the train in organic counterpoint to the smooth forward thrust. Even distorted as it is, to Stranger, it offers a no more interesting and no less distorted and abstract view of the world than the one rendered in 24K perfection above his head. And there she is again. The musical laugh, the flicked hair reflected in expensive bottles. Baby Doll laughs and reaches for Silver Fox's hand. She keeps hold for as long as possible, extending the moment of physical connection for as long as possible before his unfaithful feet carry him away from her, down the center of the racing carriage, towards the bar and the stranger sitting at it, watching the world go by. That's the start of my short story, read imperfectly because I am, if nothing else, imperfect. I hope you like it. Let me know. If you didn't like it, let me know. I'll try to take it like a man. Until then, thanks for watching. Keep the faith.